So before I publish it or even really start editing it, I'm going to send you just a transcript of our conversation, so the things you'll say are exactly how you wanted to say it. Marcos. Contreras, Contreras. So to give the audience a little bit of a background, could you tell me what you kind of do here at City Hall, or just in general? Also at is it the news place?
So my name is Christopher Jones.
Thank you.
I'm Christopher Jones, Mayor of Harrisonburg from 2015 to 2017, and one of the City Council members from 2017 to 2018. I will also serve as a board member of Divine Unity Community Church. As well, I am an advertising consultant at WHSV, which is a television station for the Shenandoah Valley, Harrisonburg area. So those are my two professions and one very big hobby, which is and volunteer time, which is at my church. So those are from which I kind of start my lens and start my day. Looking at those three obligations and going from there. Of course, always after being a father of 4 to 2 boys and 2 girls and a husband of 1 wife.
I'm sure that all keeps you busy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So the very first question is, what do you qualify as a good day?
What do I qualify as a good day? A day in which I'm up and about and in good health. And that's a primary thing. And one in which I haven't experienced major tragedy or loss. Unfortunately, many people all around the world every single day experience major loss and major tragedy. Sometimes at their own demise, and sometimes by the mistakes of others or misfortune. And sometimes at the hands of just nature and things unknown. And so whenever those things are avoided, I certainly consider it a good day.
I actually kind of considered revising this question because the more I interview people, the more I realize the importance of just starting the day off right and having kind of your morning be exactly how you want to spend your time. Could you go over kind of what you do to start your day right? Or on the best foot forward?
I don't have a very specific or huge morning routine. Usually when I wake up in the morning, I say a prayer or I speak to God directly with thoughts and things that are on my heart and on my mind and on my soul. I may read some scripture. I may listen to a minister speak for 30 minutes or so. Try to consume about 32 ounces of water in that setting.
Very specific.
Yep. And as long as I can do that, and then maybe at the end of that first hour or sometime, maybe the last 20 minutes of that first hour, consume some form of news and information of the day. My preference is CNN. I think I'm pretty good. After that, we can kind of hit the ground running.
Yeah. I like the water thing. I actually found it crazy just the difference of drinking water immediately when you start the day versus not, because a lot of your grogginess is just attributed to kind of just being dehydrated.
Correct, correct. It helps with grogginess and dehydration and digestion.
What does mindfulness mean to you?
Being conscientious of others and being aware of your position, your personal position.
Hmm.
I think being mindful is understanding and respecting um, the space and the freedom of others, as well as acknowledging the space that you consume and the
Hmm.
power in which you exude when you're consuming that space. So,
Are there any particular um, tools or activities that you use to kind of fill those goals, like to be able to have that sort of awareness and kind of.
I can't say that there's a specific tool in which I use to be mindful of others or conscientious of the space and the air that I'm consuming.
Is it
Um,
just like an outlook or a means of treating people?
no, it's for me. It has to do with reciprocity.
Hmm.
I want to give that because I want to receive that, and I want to be mindful of others because I want them to consider me. I want other individuals to be mindful, so that they can be mindful of my children. And
Hmm.
so I think that that's something that we have to constantly pay forward and be conscientious of.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah,
I think one of the biggest aspects of it is kind of just like meeting people where they're at that day and understanding there might be other things going on in their life and
mm-hmm.
just treating them with the patience and kindness that you want to be treated with.
Because you will need it,
Hmm.
at some point.
Absolutely.
Yes.
How can students feel more connected and fulfilled?
I think by stepping out of their comfort zones, as well as acknowledging their comfort zones,
Hmm.
mastering them, and welcoming others into that space as well. A lot of times you hear people say, just by cliche, that students or anyone should step out of their comfort zone and learn something new and experience new things. And I agree with that. I definitely agree with that part, but I think that's part of the process. I think that it's extremely important that when you're comfortable with something, when you're good at something, if you're knowledgeable of a thing, I think it's
Hmm.
extremely important to share and make others aware and bring others into that space. So I think it's important for students to be a big part of the city and county in which they live, as well as develop relationships and engage in on deeper levels with faculty and staff
Hmm.
and those individuals they engage with on a day-to-day basis, as well as making sure that they develop relationships with other students outside of their normal social sphere. So, yeah, I think that's very important.
Could you speak a little bit more on just becoming more involved within the city and just in the county?
Well, as a, as a as a mayor, as a council person, you know, I get a different view now,
Hmm.
but I hadn't always held those types of positions. Um, I was once a student at James Madison University, but I found it very important to shop local, to get my hair cut at a local barber, um, to give back at the local Boys and Girls Club, Big Brothers Big Sisters. Um, those are some of the things that I did when I was a student. However, I think it's very important to also have various other community service opportunities that you can serve, whether it's helping the environment here locally or serving with EMS, for example.
Hmm.
Tons of JMU students give back hundreds of thousands of volunteer hours back into Harrisonburg City and the Shenandoah Valley as a whole, which is
Hmm.
awesome. However, I think it's extremely important that students develop relationships with individuals outside of the community and not just come to serve as a form of a bucket list, but to genuinely try to develop relationships because those relationships could be helpful to them later on in their lives as they move and transition from being a student or grad student or doctoral candidate um, and into their professional careers or when they become parents or whatever they become in life. Those relationships and those experiences, I think it'll bring forth good fruit that they can
Hmm.
live off of for a long time.
I completely agree. I think I've tried to actually completely started it for the wrong reasons. Doing community service is for Phil Evans's class, actually, psychology of leadership. It was like a 20-hour checklist thing, and so I ended up at our community place, just kind of going in, not really knowing what to expect, and I found just one of the most welcoming spaces in Harrisonburg, and a place to kind of develop those relationships you were talking about with community members, with people who are much different than me, who come from different walks of life, and be able to go into a place and to know people and also be known and welcomed outside of JMU's campus, I think is one of the most powerful experiences and motivation behind my continued service in the community.
It's excellent. It's excellent. Yeah, it's very important that we take the time to not just look at the big structures in our community, the places of prestige like a city hall or county government, but we take the time to look at the other grassroots organizations as well.
Hmm.
Those are the things that make the fabric of the community.
Yeah.
Those are the things that really build community and hold us together as people.
Hmm. Where do you see just like the biggest need for students to fill? Because I feel like oftentimes um, we'll have very well-intending motivations for getting out in the community, but it'll become something of like the big event day, which is like once a year, gets a bunch of people out there, but kind of just floods the nonprofits, and they don't really get to know the people even running them or the direct people it benefits. So, how can students be kind of just more aware of how to do it in a healthier way going into their service opportunities?
Well, I think that it looks at consistency, right? And so I think being able to spread out their work, spread out the efforts over the course of the year, and make them consistent.
Hmm.
A lot of times in America, we give tremendously between October and January 1 or January 15. Give tremendously because it's cold. There are many holidays for various ethnicities. There's Kwanzaa, there's Christmas, there's Hanukkah. I think Ramadan's in there. Tons of
Hmm.
different things that are happening. People are very heightened, and it's cold, and so people want to give. They want to give food, and they want to give warmth, and they want to give that sense of helping and during that time.
Hmm.
But think about the other 9 to 10 months of the year. People need help then. So I suggest for students, not just giving, not just cleaning when it's spring, but shoveling snow when it's cold. Not
Hmm.
just helping students that are at the Boys and Girls Club or Big Brothers Big Sisters, but have you went by the Harrisonburg High School to see the teen moms? Have you went by to encourage them, to maybe give them a night off, to maybe help them with babysitting? There's lots of opportunities in which we can give, but maybe not look at it just from a superficial angle, but see and touch those individuals that aren't oftentimes touched. Many times there are groups such as what you just mentioned at our community place for your own personal experience that need more consistency and more help um, that's consistent versus floods.
Hmm.
And so I think that volunteering as a student at James Madison University in the city of Harrisonburg should be like a steady spring rain versus the torrential downpours of California. They create floods and mudslides,
It's well put.
right?
Extremely well put.
But if you have nice spring rains in Virginia, You get a very lush, beautiful, green, vibrant, right? Well maintained and landscaped area. And something that you can keep and something that can be beautiful for all 4 seasons. And so hopefully the consistency of community service can be just like those rings
Hmm.
in spring. So,
That was a solid answer.
yeah.
If you could tell your freshman self anything, what would you say?
Wow, I had a good time when I was a freshman. And I did volunteer in a lot of student organizations when I was a freshman. I got really involved a lot as a freshman. I would tell my freshman self to take myself more seriously, in that even in the midst of my fun, enjoy it to its fullest, I would study harder, right? And work harder to perform at a higher level. I would also tell my freshman self, don't change too much, because my collegiate experience at James Madison was really good, and I really enjoyed it. Of course, I could have studied more, but I would have also liked to have had even deeper, diverse relationships. I have a lot, and I established a lot of them, but I would have extended myself personally more
Hmm.
outside of spheres that look like me. However, I found it to be extremely important as a person of color on a campus that's predominantly not of color
Hmm.
to develop strong relationships with people that did look like me as a means of establishing comfort.
Yeah.
However, I would also tell my freshman self that some of my best friends would be people that didn't look like me, and I would develop great relationships of trust with people with different faith backgrounds as well as different um, skin tones and
Hmm.
cultural backgrounds. And so I tell my freshman self to keep my eyes and my heart open to receive as well as give. Yeah,
Did you spend a lot of time in the CMIS office then?
I did. I spent tons of time in CMIS with Tasha Daniels and Zeb Davenport. They were the directors of CMIS then.
Hmm.
It went from CMSS to CMISS because they included international studies. Then they took the international out at one point. But yes, I spent tons of time there.
I worked for them for a year with their diversity education program,
Hmm.
Deep Impact, and I also do. Hopefully, I can do it again. The Male Academy.
That's great. I spoke at the Mel Academy in 2015.
It's an awesome program. I wish I'd heard about it
It's a
when I was
great
in high
program.
school.
Yes, indeed. I went to a transition program here at James Madison in 1996 during the summer, before I came in as a freshman.
Was it Springboard? Like a similar type thing? Like you're still in high school and you're just like getting a feel for it?
Well, no, I had completed high school actually a year early,
Ah.
and so I technically didn't have an 11th grade year. I had a 10th grade sophomore year and a senior year. And upon graduating high school, I came to James Madison the very next day. I believe it was June 17th, 1996. It was a Sunday. And I stayed here, did a 6-month program, myself and other various students. Some, if you were entering college young, if you were first generation, if you needed more grooming and guiding before you were admitted. There were various different characteristics in which you were admitted to this transition program. And so this transition program, I'm pretty sure I was picked for it because of my age and skipping a grade. And so I was able to take 2 college classes, live and get the college experience to make sure that I was groomed properly for attending JMU. And so, and that I was able to spend a lot of time, and that program was run through Center for Multicultural Student Services. And so I was able to spend a lot of time with individuals from that office,
Mm-hmm.
and being um, a leader of Black Student Alliance, part of the NAACP, Students for Minority Outreach, and also being a senator um,
It's SGA.
with SGA.
I did that for a year too.
Yeah, because at the time I think I was maybe one of the only brown senators at the time,
Not much has changed.
and I know not much has changed. And so, but it was very important to be able to help other clubs and to help clubs of color because they don't always know what's available when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to the front end budgeting process and the resources available to help their organization and to get their message out. So it was very important for me to work with Center for Multicultural Student Services, and now its leader now, Ms. Valerie Garrett. She's a
Mm-hmm.
good friend and a great person to work with as well.
I love her. She's so just personable and
Hmm.
warm.
Yeah, she's a great person in the community as well as in the academic setting of James Madison University. She's just an overall good person and great leader.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How do you think you could have gotten out of that bubble though? Just like, were there any clubs you thought about joining that you never went to, or just like experiences you?
Oh well, no, I mean I wasn't so much in a CMSS bubble alone. In fact, I guess a big part of me was working with Student Government Association and working as a senator to work with other clubs. And when I led the MLK March, it wasn't back in 19 September. I think that was September 17th, 1999. I led a protest in order to. We protested the inauguration of President, well, then President-elect Dr. Linwood Rose. And so we protested his inauguration with our goal being to have Dr. Martin Luther King Day acknowledged as a holiday, in addition to other things that would help students of color. And so after about 6 months after that protest, or maybe less, that next semester it was official that we would always observe Martin Luther King Day as a holiday at James Madison and shut the campus down. And so that was a great moment. But that wasn't done in a sphere of being with people of color. That was done in the sphere of reaching out to
And organize.
and organizing with people from the Harrisonburg community, people from the Rockingham County community, faculty and staff at James Madison University, as well as students at James Madison University. So it went well beyond a sphere of color or a sphere of the CMSS. So I always kept relationships outside of those worlds. That was why I became a senator, because I saw that it was extremely important um, that I not just be seen as a person of color who's active, but as a student who is active at JMU.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But I thought that it was important that that identity is always reinforced because I was in my late teens and 20s, and so it's extremely important to always being enforcing and learning about my culture as well as the culture of other brown people, so that it's not completely lost in a Western state of thought and in a Western educational sphere. Because oftentimes, when it comes to Western education, it doesn't look at people from the East
Mm-hmm.
favorably. In fact, furthermore, our story is usually convoluted and diluted um, by Western eyes and Western thought. So it's extremely important to me to switch my major from just business to sociology with a focus on critical theory and critical thought, and furthermore with a concentration in Afrocentric thought and African American thought. And so I know I got my minor in business. So,
Was there like a specific moment where you kind of had that pivoting intellectual pursuit, or was it just a lot of things coming together to make you
yeah, I
want to
was going
expand
to
it?
withdraw my sophomore year, and then I just switched everything because I knew that I wasn't learning in college, right? I was just at that point going to get a certificate to be employed, and
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't want that. I wanted to learn things that I didn't understand, and I wanted to think differently and exercise the muscle of my brain differently versus being able to memorize and regurgitate information.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to be knowledgeable and be able to think and think critically. So,
I had a really similar experience.
hmm
Is is halfway through sophomore year, and I was studying chemistry. I wanted to go to med school, studying psychology. It's like the most successful route is psychiatry. And so I had all these ideas of what success was just based off societal expectations. As like a first generation college student, it's really the only like model I had. But I was really miserable. I had an awful time. I didn't feel any motivation towards the things I was studying and spending hours devoting my time doing and energy and effort. And I pivoted. I literally dropped a class. I dropped chemistry because I was redoing it just to the grade, and I picked up an independent study in mindfulness, which is just looking at meditation. And I started to create an education for myself from that point forward. And I think that was like one of the best things I did in college.
I did the same thing with finance.
Solid.
Yeah.
I feel like people would often like overlook the fact that they can literally shape their own education. They don't have to like follow the set plan everyone's doing.
Exactly.
What is the biggest problem with the mindsets of young people? I know it's a generalization, but specifically looking at just on JMU's campus, what is a prevalent problem you see amongst the mindset?
With all people, the only problem with our mindset is the self-centeredness, right, and the egotisticalness of human nature. And so it's just amplified in youth, and it's amplified with youth with independence and privilege. So you become even a larger self-centered egomaniac when you have independence and privilege and safety.
Yeah.
So when you combine all those things, I would say that's the biggest problem. But I don't think that's anything specific to JMU. I think that's specific to people. And as you add layers such as independence and safety, and privilege, it starts to lend itself to people becoming more and more egotistical, more and more self-centered. You can see it play out in politics all the time. You can also see it play out in religion all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And quite honestly, you can see it play out in the everyday, door to door family dynamics. The more a person seems to have those particular things, that privilege and that safety and that independence, it starts to cloud their vision of looking at others and serving others. And it makes them look inward and more puffed up. So it's
Mm-hmm.
extremely important that that man doesn't look at himself more than he really is.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, that he's just man, and that, in my personal opinion, that you humble yourself to God and humble yourself in a position to help and give other men to other men. And when I say men, I mean humanity,
Mm-hmm.
not being sexist.
Yeah.
So,
Reminds me of that phrase, your ego is not your amigo.
right. That's funny. I heard that.
What are your timeless pieces of wisdom? So just kind of like the advice that, regardless of the times, it's always something to have in the back of your mind.
Oh, um, Psalm 34. This poor man cried out, and the Lord heard him and delivered him from all of his fears. Fear always pops up, and so it's refreshing and rewarding and good for me to know that God hears me and God will help me when fear arises in me or when fears of others are projected on me. I know that He can be a shield for me to deflect those things as well and uproot and destroy the fears that get planted in my head and in my mind or in my heart. So that's that's a big one for me, as well as just always remembering God and loving God, and that also is a part of Psalm 34 as well. Yeah, I think that's
If you had to offer any advice to students who kind of had non-traditional faiths or atheists who were suffering, or not suffering, but kind of were living in fear, how would you say, or um, what would your advice to them be?
believe, because with your belief comes freedom from the fear.
Belief in,
Belief and believing, if I'm speaking to the atheists.
hmm,
Right?
so just faith.
Mhm. Because in faith there's a great amount of freedom. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's liberty. And there's a freedom to have a conversation. And there's a freedom to be embraced and to be loved by God. And so for me, it's extremely important for the believer and the non-believer to always be centered back to that when fear is involved. In fact, that's probably one of the reasons why I can cling to that scripture so much. It's because I know that it applies to the believer and the non-believer. Because whether you believe in God or not, we all get scared. I choose to humble myself to the God of my faith because I believe that He will rescue me in times of fear and He will protect me as well as lift me up and refresh me even in times of happiness. I welcome others to experience that. That's because I know that the time will come when things are dark, and I know that challenges in life will come. Sickness, disease, death. These things happen to everyone. And so I would encourage those that are maybe agnostic or atheists to just give it a try because the freedom and the liberty that they would experience by believing and by having hope and faith in God would be refreshing and rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would say.
What do you think is like the healthiest approach to kind of transition from that position of being agnostic or atheist? Because I feel like a lot of people, especially in college, will kind of test their faith or try to see what other schools of belief are out there. Have you found any particular effective methods of doing that?
Repeat that one more time. An effective measure, effective.
So a way
ways
of
to
kind of like
transition.
broaden your horizons within a religious context. It could be an activity, an experience, an organization, a book.
Let's say I think the
Because it can be intimidating just to like go to a church, you know.
well, so I think that the experience is I think that it is best done and starts in our heart and in our mind and probably in
Hmm.
a mirror in which you can get really honest. I would suggest to any atheist or agnostic to go in their own personal bathroom and close the door. Look in the mirror, eyes wide open, and have a conversation of honesty with themselves.
Out loud.
Hmm. See if that conversation turns into what some would consider a prayer. As you have the conversation of where you would like for your life to be, a conversation about the things that you dream of, a conversation about the things you're afraid of, a conversation about things that you would like to change, that you have the power to change, and a conversation about the things that you don't have the power to change. As you start to have those conversations and have real honest conversations with yourself in that mirror, I firmly believe that that conversation will start to turn into a prayer.
Hmm.
And I believe that God will hear that. And I think that He can prick the hearts of those um, that believe that He's too big to know or that He's doesn't exist at all. And I don't know whether He will prick their hearts with a believer, a person of faith, eventually following up with them, or a series of experiences that continues to lead them towards Him. But I do believe that God will hear them because a person doesn't know what prayer looks like. So a good thing for them to do would be starting a mirror and speaking out loud again about those things that they can't control. They can control their fears, even the things that make them happy. Because as you do that, those things that I was describing, that's prayer and getting honest with yourself. And a lot of honest things happen in a bathroom, in that privacy, and in the mirror. Because you can see yourself for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that'd be my advice.
That's so funny that you mentioned that. Tom Dingledine in his interview, I don't know how it came up, but it was something about just being unsure about the future. He's like, whenever you're unsure about the future, just go into a room with a mirror and start talking out loud to yourself and
Mm-hmm.
ask yourself a question that you're wondering and notice your facial expression, notice your body language,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll find that you'll probably know the answer. Because he's like, how often do you have a question like that? And then as soon as you start talking to someone else about it, the answer comes out.
Right.
Never thought about it to ask those other questions as well. I think those are extremely powerful.
Oh yeah. Get some Kleenex.
Spiritual. What are your three key ingredients for you to be happy?
Faith, family, and fun. And that sounds cheesy, but it's true.
Hmm.
Those are definitely the key three ingredients. Yeah, I like to have fun. I like to be with my family, and that's whether it's my kids or my kids and my wife, or it can be my brothers or my mom or my dad or cousins, aunts, uncles. I love family. Love my family, and or close friends. I consider them family too. Right? The family is awesome. Faith. I just don't think you can move without it. And it's a quintessential essence of happiness. Because without it, I think I'm completely lost. And then just flat out fun. I just like to have a good time. So,
What do you like to do for fun?
oh man,
If you have a free Saturday, what do
I enjoy good festivals and live music and good food and drinks and things like that. I like to indulge, whether you're eating sweets or whether you're eating, 5-star types of food or food truck food or various different cultural cuisines. So festivals and things like that are always a good time on a Saturday. I mean, but man, just hanging out with family and again, kind of barbecuing or preparing a big meal and dinner and social hour. It's always a good time. Or just visiting new places or places that you don't visit often. It's always a good time as well with family and friends. So yeah, that's pretty much what I like to do in my spare time is spend it with family and friends. And one-on-one time with my wife is always a good time, and we can do anything. We can be going to the grocery store, and that's a good time, or we've taken a huge trip, and that can be fun as well. So just having a new experience. But being able to have life is a good thing, and so being able to live it to the fullest or to the best of your ability is a good thing. So.
Yeah. Are there any community events that you look forward to every year? Like a festival?
In the city of Harrisonburg, or
Yeah, just thinking in the context of like things students at JMU should know about.
oh, you should always go to the International Festival in September.
They have such good food.
Yeah, the International Festival is awesome. You should go to um, um, the Rocktown Beer Festival if you're over the age of 21. You should go to the African American Festival in June if you're here. Um, those are three really good ones in the city of Harrisonburg. We've got others, but those three I think
Pretty solid.
are very very solid. Yeah.
What do you expect out of life, and what does life expect out of you?
I think it's just to fulfill the purpose that God created us for, and that's to love Him and praise Him and put Him first, and then help to point others toward His love and the love of God and the love of Jesus Christ. I think that's extremely important. I think from there everything just works itself out. Um, and I'm glad that whether it was the high points of my life or the low points of my life, they've always pointed me back to Him, and that I've been able to point some people towards Him in my living. And I think that's what purpose is for me. I think that's extremely important because I think everything else starts to become folly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's extremely important. Yeah. Wanting people to love, but most importantly, the love of God. That's extremely important. Yeah.
What questions should students be asking themselves?
Am I giving and am I receiving? And is there a balance? I think that's the big questions you should constantly be asking yourself as a student. You don't want to be in a position where you're always giving, because you'll end up on E. You don't want to be in a position where you're just always receiving and you become gluttonous, right? And lackadaisical. You want to make sure that you have some balance with giving and receiving, especially as a student, because you got so many relationships and a lot of demands, a lot of things really pulling on you, and balancing that independence with mentorship as well as mentoring. So, yeah.
How do you think students can become more cognizant of giving back? Because I feel like it's hard to step forward from that egocentrical freshman mind and be like, I need to start looking at whether or not empowering people or just having these resources empower me for my own selfishness.
Um, I think more needs need to be presented to students, and not just opportunities to serve, but let them see where there are real world gaps. And I think if they can see those gaps, then they will be compelled to give more. But I don't think that information is put in front of them. I think you have to sell that versus just selling the dream of college. I think that needs to be part of selling the dream of college is seeing and showing students where they can fill in gaps, where they can help. I think that's important because I don't think that information is always readily available.
Mm-mm. I feel like the example you gave earlier with the pregnant high schoolers was a really good, powerful example.
Yeah, yeah. So when you can see a need like that, then you feel more compelled. And then the more needs we can see with the variety of students that are coming in, and they can have a variety of needs, and then you can have more volunteers and more people willing to serve and help.
So there's three more questions.
All right.
I know you're probably looking at your clock.
Let's get through these next three.
What healthy habits assist you in living well?
Drinking a lot of water. And confessing the things that bother me so that they don't weigh on my heart and weigh on my mind and lead to unnecessary stress. So having a couple people that you can confide in as well as and that you can confess things that bother you to as well as someone that you can celebrate private successes with. So being able to confess those things orally, I think is good for your heart and good for your mind. So those are probably my two big things.
How do you live your passion, and what helped you discover it?
Yeah, I think I'm doing that. Um, for right now, I think that what helped me discover it was when I was 12 years old. I gave a speech in front of maybe about a couple thousand of my peers that were between the ages of 12 and 14, and it was very. I was able to captivate the audience, and that crowd all responded to me, and they elected me to be a representative for a youth organization for the state of Virginia. Um, it was a conglomerate of churches, and so that moment inspired me and made me realize that I can use my thoughts and I can use my voice and my ear. That I can that I have a skill that where I can listen to others and communicate how they feel to another group. That I can represent others well by being a voice and being a cannon and being a representative. And so that I think that inspiration has led me to do things of that ilk and things of that nature from as early as a preteen to a teenager to various things in my 20s and 30s. And
It's powerful.
yeah.
Very last question. Imagine that you have 30 seconds to tell the world anything. What would you say?
Love each other and forgive each other. And after you forgive each other, continue to love each other. The mistakes will come. But repeat one and repeat two. Love each other and forgive each other. Forgive each other and love each other. Because then success will come if we love each other and forgive each other.
Well put.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. It's Marcos.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. Good time, brother.
Appreciate it.
You need to do anything else for you, alright?
Should send you a month and a half of transcript. Transcript everything you want to say.
For the course, and I don't think you'll make it. Good man.
So,
You know your way out? I'm gonna go to the restroom if you don't mind. Oh, I guess I can.
Oh, yes, you
I'm
can. I'm done.
done? Okay. Alright. Well, thank you for your time. I hope it worked out well. And I'll tell Bill we got to talk, okay? Alright, you have a great day.